This tiny strand looks simple, but making millions of them perfectly identical is anything but simple. And this is only one section of the operation. Behind these machines is an entire system working in perfect synchronization. And inside a modern pasta factory, almost everything happens at a scale that is difficult to imagine.
But before those strands ever reach a package, their journey begins with one humble ingredient: durum wheat.
Today, we're following that journey from raw wheat all the way to finished spaghetti. And the first challenge is getting the raw material exactly right. Spaghetti is traditionally made from durum wheat because its unique properties help create firm pasta with the structure needed to survive cooking. Once the wheat arrives, automated systems begin moving it into the processing line. Before anything is milled, the wheat must be thoroughly cleaned. Not every type of wheat is ideal for spaghetti. The factory needs a variety strong enough to create pasta with the right structure and bite.
Modern sorting systems can inspect enormous quantities of grain while removing unwanted material with remarkable precision.
Now the cleaned wheat enters the milling system, where the goal is to separate the useful components and produce the golden semolina used for pasta. The result is a fine, golden material called semolina. This semolina is temporarily stored, carefully controlled, before it begins its transformation into pasta. Now the transformation begins. Semolina meets carefully controlled amounts of water. And this is where precision becomes critical. Too much water, too little water, or uneven mixing can change the final pasta. The goal isn't simply to make the dough wet. Every part of the mixture must become evenly hydrated. Powerful mixing equipment works continuously until the dry particles become a consistent pasta dough. At this stage, the dough is nothing like the smooth pasta people see on a dinner plate. It must first be conditioned until the material becomes uniform enough for precision extrusion. And one of the most important stages is about to happen inside a sealed processing system. Inside this chamber, controlled vacuum processing helps create a dense, consistent dough. Removing unwanted air helps reduce irregularities and prepares the dough for what comes next. Pressure, temperature, and moisture must stay within carefully controlled limits. By now, the dough has become dense, uniform, and ready for its most recognizable transformation. And this is where spaghetti finally begins to look like spaghetti. Behind this small-looking piece of metal is the secret to producing thousands of nearly identical strands. Everything so far has been preparation. Now, in just a few seconds, this machine will give the dough its unmistakable identity. As enormous pressure pushes the dough through the openings, thin strands suddenly emerge. And there it is. Hundreds of spaghetti strands are being created at the exact same moment. hundreds of strands can appear together, each following almost exactly the same path.
For a few seconds, the fresh pasta looks almost like a golden curtain.
But keeping those delicate strands straight and evenly spaced requires precise mechanical control. Multiply that single extrusion line across an entire factory, and the scale becomes enormous. But perfectly shaped spaghetti isn't enough. Every portion also needs to be the right length. Automated cutting systems make thousands of identical cuts with remarkable consistency. At this point, the pasta is still delicate, so even transferring it requires careful handling. Next comes one of the longest and most carefully controlled stages in the factory: drying.
Controlled airflow gradually removes moisture while protecting the shape of the pasta.
The balance is critical. Dry it incorrectly, and the pasta can crack or lose its desired texture. This may look like simple heating, but it isn't. The drying process has to remove moisture gradually without damaging the pasta. The first drying zone begins removing moisture gradually. Humidity and temperature are continuously monitored, because even small changes can affect the final pasta.
The pasta doesn't simply enter one hot room, it moves through multiple carefully controlled drying zones.
Slowly, the soft strands become the firm, shelf-stable spaghetti consumers recognize. Near the end of the tunnel, the pasta approaches its final moisture level. And finally, the dry spaghetti emerges. Firm, golden, and ready for inspection. But before packaging, the spaghetti still has to pass another critical test. High-speed cameras search for defects that could be almost impossible to notice at normal speed. When an unwanted piece is detected, automated systems can remove it without stopping the production line. Even after hours of production, a single defective strand can still be removed before it reaches the package. Human quality teams also perform checks throughout production.
They check characteristics such as appearance, consistency, and performance.
Only after passing these checks does the spaghetti move toward the final stage. Now the factory begins dividing the spaghetti into precise consumer portions.
Measured portions are transferred packaging at incredible speed. Packaging machinery forms, fills, and prepares each package in a continuous operation. Then each package is sealed to protect the pasta during storage and transportation.
In just seconds, loose strands become finished packages ready for the shelves. Within seconds, loose strands have become finished retail packages. And at this scale, factory can keep producing packages continuously with very little interruption. Finished packages are grouped together and prepared for shipment. Robotic palletizers then stack the cartons with astonishing precision. Now we can finally see the real scale of the operation. Multiple systems, hundreds of machines, and an uninterrupted flow of pasta. A final wrapping system secures the entire load for transportation. From the factory floor, the finished pasta moves into a massive distribution warehouse. From here, the spaghetti begins its journey towards stores, restaurants, and kitchens. And that simple plate of spaghetti represents an incredible journey, from wheat to semolina to dough to millions of precisely manufactured strands, from a single grain of wheat to semolina, dough, extrusion, drying and packaging. Every strand travels through an incredible chain of precision. And all of that precision happens for one simple reason: to make the spaghetti on your plate exactly what you expect every single time.